Before the world begins to speak, before footsteps touch the road or doors are opened, there's a quiet moment where America in 1789 feels suspended in calm. The air is cool and still, resting gently over a young nation, just learning how to breathe in peace. The night has not fully released its hold, and the sky holds a soft gray-blue light, thin and fragile, as if morning is arriving carefully, not wanting to disturb anyone still asleep. If you enjoy slow, peaceful journeys into early American life like this one, take a moment now to subscribe, like this video, and leave a quiet comment. You are listening to Stories of America, where history unfolds gently, one calm night at a time. The land around you lies quiet and wide. Fields stretch outward, uneven and honest, bordered by simple wooden fences shaped by hand and time. There are no signals, no bells, no rushing sounds. Only the faint movement of air through grass and the distant call of a single bird testing the morning. You're inside a modest wooden home, built sturdy rather than grand. The walls hold the scent of timber and old smoke. A small window lets in the faintest light, just enough to soften the darkness. A heavy quilt rests over you, hand-stitched and worn smooth, its weight familiar and comforting. You wake slowly, not because something pulls you from sleep, but because the day itself has arrived. Your breathing remains calm. There is no urgency here, no hour to chase, no noise demanding attention. The wooden floor is cool beneath your feet as you rise. The boards answer with a low, gentle creak, a sound that feels like recognition rather than interruption. Near the hearth, ash rests pale and quiet, holding the memory of warmth from the night before. You kneel and brush it aside carefully. Beneath, a faint ember still lives, glowing softly like a held breath. You place small pieces of wood just so, guiding them into position. A spark follows, then another. The fire wakes slowly without flame at first, only warmth. As the light grows, the room takes shape, a sturdy table marked by years of meals and work. Simple shelves holding clay bowls and tin cups. A coat hanging near the door, shaped to the body that wears it. Everything is plain. Everything belongs. Outside, the sky lightens by degrees. Mist lies low over the ground, and the road beyond the house remains empty and quiet. Somewhere far off, a rooster calls once, then stops, allowing the silence to settle again. This is how the day begins in America, in the year 1789. Slowly, gently, without hurry, and you step into it as the morning opens, ready to be lived one quiet moment at a time. The fire settles into a low, steady glow, offering warmth without demanding attention. You remain near the hearth for a moment, hands open to the heat, watching the small movements of light as they travel across the stone and wood. An iron kettle waits nearby, darkened by years of use. You lift it carefully, feeling its familiar weight, and fill it with water drawn the night before. When you set it close to the fire, it does not rush to heat. It simply waits, just as you do. You move to the door and ease it open. The hinges give a soft sound, well known, never sharp. Cool morning air slips inside, clean and damp, carrying the scent of earth and grass. Outside, the yard is still wrapped in quiet. Dew clings to every surface, bending the grass low beneath its weight. The fence lines stretch outward, pale and worn, guiding the eye toward open fields beyond. Mist lingers there, moving slowly, as if unsure where to go. You step outside and pause, letting the morning surround you. Your boots press gently into the soil. The ground feels firm but alive. A chicken moves near the edge of the yard, scratching once, then lifting its head to listen. Farther away, a horse shifts in a nearby barn, leather and wood answering with a faint sound. You walk toward the barn at an easy pace, the path worn smooth by many mornings like this one. The door opens slowly, revealing the dim interior. Inside, the air is cooler, holding the scent of hay and timber. The horse stands calm, turning its head toward you, ears relaxed. You speak no words. None are needed. A hand rests briefly on its neck, warm and steady. Feed is measured and placed in the trough. Water is checked. Each movement follows the next without thought, guided by habit and care. When you step back into the yard, the light has grown a little stronger. The mist thins. The world feels awake now, but still unhurried. Back inside, the kettle begins to murmur, not yet boiling, only whispering softly. You pour ground coffee into a small pot, the scent rising rich and comforting. A piece of bread is set near the hearth to warm, its surface catching the firelight. You sit at the table and hold the tin cup between your hands. The first sip is slow, grounding. Warmth spreads gently through you as the day continues to open itself, calm and steady, just as it always does. The warmth from the cup lingers in your hands long after the first sip, spreading slowly into your fingers and wrists, easing away the last coolness of the night. You remain seated for a while, not because there is nothing to do, but because there is no need to hurry toward it. The room grows brighter as the sun lifts higher. Light slips through the small window and settles across the table, catching the uneven grain of the wood and the faint marks left by years of use. Dust floats lazily in the air, turning gently, as if time itself has slowed to watch the morning arrive. You finish the drink slowly, savoring its warmth rather than its taste. When the cup is empty, you rinse it carefully, letting a small stream of water run along the rim and into the basin below. The sound is soft and brief, and when you set the cup upside down to dry, it feels like closing a small, quiet chapter of the morning. You rise and move through the house with an easy familiarity. A cloth is taken from its hook and used to wipe the table, gathering a few crumbs and smoothing the surface. The cloth is folded and returned to its place, ready for later. Nothing is left out of order. Everything rests where it belongs. Stepping outside again, you feel the morning has changed. The air is warmer now, carrying the smell of sunlit grass and damp wood. The mist has nearly lifted, leaving only a faint haze along the field's edge. Birds have grown more confident, their calls spaced closer together, forming a gentle pattern that fills the silence without breaking it. You walk toward the woodpile and select a few pieces of split log. The bark is rough beneath your fingers, the wood pale where it was cut. You lift each piece with care, feeling the solid certainty of its weight. The smell of fresh wood rises clean and sharp, briefly filling your breath. The logs are carried inside and set neatly near the hearth. You arrange them without thought, stacking them in a way that will make them easy to reach later. Preparedness here is not about urgency, but about comfort, about keeping the day smooth and unbroken. Near the side of the house, you work the pump slowly. The handle resists at first, then gives, releasing clear water into a waiting bucket. The sound echoes softly in the quiet yard. You watch the surface ripple, then grow still again before lifting the bucket and carrying it back inside. The fire has settled into glowing coals now, steady and calm. You add one small piece of wood, not to build a strong flame, but to keep the warmth alive. It catches gently, responding in its own time. As the morning continues to unfold, you gather what you will need for the work ahead. A simple hat, worn gloves shaped to your hands, a small satchel holding a few tools, their handles smoothed by years of use. You place everything together, ready but not demanding. Outside, the road remains quiet. A neighbor's door opens in the distance, then closes again. Footsteps pass, slow and unhurried. The village is waking, each household following its own calm rhythm. You take one last look around the room before stepping back out into the growing day. The light has changed again, fuller now, and the hours ahead feel open and generous, ready to be filled with steady, simple work. You step out into the yard with the satchel resting comfortably at your side, the weight familiar enough that you hardly notice it. The morning sun now stands clear above the trees, and its light falls gently across the land, warming the fence rails and drawing a soft sparkle from the dew still clinging to the grass. The road beyond your gate is a narrow ribbon of packed earth, pressed smooth by years of wagon wheels and steady footsteps. In places it holds shallow ruts, and in others it is firm and even, as if the ground itself has learned the patterns of daily travel. Today, it is quiet, but not empty. Quiet holds signs of life, if you listen closely. Somewhere farther down, a hinge squeaks as a door opens. A brief murmur of voices drifts and fades. Then silence returns, calm and complete. You begin walking along the edge of your property, following a path that curves toward the fence line and the fields beyond. The grass brushes softly against your boots. A small insect rises from a leaf and disappears into the air. You breathe in and taste the morning, clean and damp, touched faintly with wood smoke from distant chimneys. At the fence, you pause and rest your hand on the top rail. The wood is dry and slightly warm where the sun has reached it. You feel the rough texture under your palm, the uneven places shaped by weather and time. A fence is a simple thing, but it is part of the quiet order of life here. It holds boundaries gently. It keeps animals where they should be. It makes the land feel tended. You walk along it slowly, checking each post without hurry. Most stand firm. One leans just slightly, not urgent, only something to remember. Another has a rail that sits a little lower than the rest, and you stop to examine it. You set down your satchel, kneel, and brush away grass at the base with the back of your glove. The joint is loose, nothing dramatic. You slide the rail back into place and press it with your shoulder until it sits snug. Then you take a small wooden wedge from your satchel and tap it in gently, using the heel of your hand. The sound is soft, a dull thud that disappears quickly into the open air. When you test the rail again, it holds. You stand and stretch your fingers once, slow and easy, then pick up the satchel. The fields beyond the fence lie open and quiet. Patches of growth stand in uneven lines, and the soil between them is dark and slightly clumped from recent dampness. The land looks patient, as if it has all the time in the world. A breeze moves across the field, bending the tops of grasses in a gentle wave. It reaches you a moment later, cooler than the sun, carrying the scent of earth and green life. You close your eyes briefly and let it pass over your face, then open them again and continue walking. At the far corner of the fence line, you stop and look back toward the house. The roof sits low and steady against the brightening sky. A thin thread of smoke rises straight from the chimney, almost motionless. The yard looks orderly and calm, small and familiar in the wide landscape around it. You turn back toward home at the same unhurried pace. The morning's still young, the day still open, and everything moving forward with quiet steadiness. When you return to the yard, you do not go straight inside. The sun feels pleasant on your shoulders, and the air is still cool enough to keep the mind clear. You let yourself linger outdoors, moving through small tasks that belong to the morning, the way birdsong belongs to the trees. Near the steps, a shallow basin waits to be used. You pour a little water into it and rinse your hands, rubbing them together slowly. The water is cold at first, then simply refreshing, and when you shake your fingers dry, tiny droplets scatter into the light and vanish. You glance toward the garden patch beside the house. It is modest, nothing grand, but it carries a quiet promise. Plants stand in simple rows, their leaves fresh and firm. The soil between them is dark and slightly damp, holding the night's moisture. You walk there and crouch, brushing aside a small weed that has appeared near one of the stems. It releases easily, and you drop it to the side, letting it return to the earth. Your attention moves calmly from one plant to the next, not searching for trouble, only noticing. A leaf edged with dew, a small bud holding tight, the faint mark where an insect has been. Life here is made of these small observations, these gentle corrections that keep things steady. A chicken wanders nearer, tilting its head as if curious about your quiet movements. It pecks once at the ground, then steps away, unbothered. When you stand, you carry the slow calm of the garden back toward the house. Inside, the fire remains steady, and the room feels warmer now, filled with morning light. You take out a small bowl and measure cornmeal, letting it fall with a soft sound. A pinch of salt follows. You add water slowly, stirring until the mixture becomes thick and smooth. The cooking surface near the hearth has warmed, and you place small portions of the batter down carefully. They begin to cook without drama, only a faint soft hiss, the scent of warm grain rising gently. While they cook, you set a few things in order. A cup returned to the shelf, a lid placed on a crock, a chair pushed in. It is not cleaning for the sake of cleaning, only the quiet habit of keeping the space calm. When the cakes are ready, you place them on a simple plate. You eat at the table, slowly, the warmth settling in your stomach. The taste is plain and comforting. Between bites, you look out the window at the road and the field beyond, watching the way sunlight moves across the grass. Outside, the village is waking a little more now. You hear the faint roll of a distant wagon. Somewhere, a voice calls out briefly, then fades. The sounds are small, softened by distance and by the unhurried pace of the day. After you finish, you rinse the bowl and plate and set them aside. The morning has fully taken shape now, and the day waits patiently for whatever steady work comes next, ready to be lived without haste. The morning continues with the same gentle steadiness, as if the day has found its rhythm and intends to keep it. You step outside again, letting the house settle behind you, and walk toward the barn with a quiet purpose that feels more like routine than effort. The barn stands a short distance away, its boards weathered and pale, the roof dark against the brightening sky. As you approach, you hear the soft movement of animals inside, a shift of hooves, the faint rustle of hay. The sound is calm, almost sleepy, and it makes the whole place feel alive without being loud. You open the barn door slowly, letting the dim interior reveal itself. Sunlight cuts through cracks between the boards in thin, bright lines, and dust floats through them like tiny drifting seeds. The air smells of hay, leather, and dry wood, a scent that feels deeply familiar. The horse turns its head toward you, relaxed and steady. Its eyes are calm, reflecting the quiet of the morning. You move closer and rest your hand on its neck, feeling the warmth beneath the coat, the slow rise and fall of its breath. You speak no words, only offer your presence. You measure feed and pour it into the trough. The sound is soft, grain against wood. The horse lowers its head and begins to eat slowly, unhurried. You check the water bucket, adding more if needed, then straighten a strap hanging nearby, making sure it lies flat and ready. A few small tools sit on a shelf along the wall. You inspect them briefly, not because you expect trouble, but because care prevents it. A handle is tightened. A hinge is tested. The smallest actions, done regularly, keep everything smooth. When you step back out into the yard, the sunlight feels stronger, warming the back of your hands and the sides of your face. The sky is clear now, pale blue, stretching wide above the fields. A breeze moves through the grass, and the plants respond with a soft ripple. You walk toward the woodpile again, choosing a few pieces to bring closer to the house for later. You carry them slowly, arms steady, setting them down neatly near the porch. The dull sound of wood meeting wood feels grounding, simple and sure. For a moment, you sit on the porch step and let the day rest around you. You listen. A bird calls from the trees, then silence. The distant creak of a wagon wheel, then nothing. Your own breathing, slow and even. The morning feels spacious, as though time itself has widened. There is still much of the day ahead, but it does not press. It simply waits, calm and open, inviting you forward into whatever the next quiet hours will hold. When you rise from the porch step, you do it slowly, letting your joints move without strain. The day has a softness to it, and you match that softness in the way you carry yourself. You step into the yard and glance toward the road, noticing how the light now falls more directly on the packed earth, bringing out its warm tones and the faint tracks left by yesterday's travel. A short distance away, the village begins to stir more plainly. Not loudly, not suddenly, but with small signs that morning is well underway. A door opens down the road. A voice calls out a brief greeting. Somewhere, metal taps softly against wood, then stops. You decide to walk a little toward the village, not for noise or company, but for the quiet errands that naturally belong to a morning in 1789. You follow the road at an easy pace. The dirt is firm beneath your boots, and the edges of the road are lined with grass and weeds, still damp with dew. As you walk, the countryside opens around you. To one side, fields stretch out in uneven patches, some freshly tended, others resting. To the other, a stand of trees forms a darker wall of green, their leaves moving only slightly in the breeze. The air carries the scent of sun-warmed plants and distant smoke, the smell of hearths being stirred awake. A wagon approaches from the far end of the road, moving slowly, its wheels turning with a steady creak. The horse pulling it looks calm, head lowered slightly, as if it knows the pace expected of it. The driver lifts a hand in a quiet greeting as he passes. You nod in return. No words are needed. The moment is brief, then the wagon continues on, and the road returns to silence. You reach a small cluster of buildings, simple and sturdy. A few homes, a modest shop, perhaps a place where supplies are traded and news is exchanged without urgency. The feeling here is not bustling, it is subdued, as if everyone understands that too much noise would only weigh down the day. Inside the shop, the air smells of wood, cloth, and stored goods. Light comes through the windows in bright rectangles. You exchange a few coins for something small and necessary, a bit of salt or a length of twine. The shopkeeper's voice is low and steady, and your own replies are simple. There is no sense of performance, only quiet transaction. When you step back outside, the sun is higher, and the village seems to pause in the warmth. A child walks past carrying something light, moving without hurry. Somewhere behind a fence, a hen clucks softly. The world continues at its calm pace. You begin the walk back toward home, your small purchase tucked away, the road stretching gently ahead. The fields look brighter now, and the day feels settled, as if it has found its calm center. The walk home feels even quieter than the walk out, as if the road has absorbed the morning's gentle activity and returned to stillness. Your steps fall in a slow, steady rhythm. The small purchase you've brought back rests lightly, hardly noticeable, yet satisfying in the simple way of having what you need. As you approach your home, the familiar shape of the house comes into view, low and sturdy against the open sky. The yard looks unchanged, calm and orderly, as though it has been waiting in silence for your return. A thin thread of smoke rises from the chimney, almost straight, barely moving. You step through the gate and pause for a moment, taking in the quiet scene. The grass near the porch has begun to dry in the sun. The fence rails look brighter now. The garden holds its green stillness. A chicken wanders across the yard, scratching once, then moving on. Inside, the air is warm and softly lit. Sunlight spills across the floorboards, creating pale bands of light and shadow. The hearth has settled into a steady glow again, and the room carries that familiar scent of wood and smoke, comforting and grounding. You set your purchase away where it belongs, in its proper place, and take a moment to stand with your hands resting lightly on the table. The table is smooth in places, rough in others, marked by years of use. It feels solid beneath your palms, like a reminder that this life is built from steady things. The late morning begins to drift toward midday. You can feel it in the way the light has shifted, in the warmth that now fills the room more fully. Outside, the birds have quieted a little, their morning chorus thinning into occasional calls. You prepare a simple midday meal, not elaborate, only enough to carry you comfortably through the afternoon. Bread is cut. A small portion of food is placed on a plate. Water is poured into a cup. Everything is done quietly, with the same calm care you have given to the rest of the morning. You eat slowly, letting the warmth and stillness settle in your body. Between bites, you listen to the faint crackle of the fire and the distant sounds of the countryside. A wagon far off, a door closing, a voice carried briefly, then gone. When the meal is finished, you clear the table and rinse what needs rinsing. The motions feel gentle and familiar, like a rhythm you could follow with your eyes closed. As the midday passes, the day begins to widen again into the long, soft hours of afternoon, and you step forward into them without hurry, ready for whatever quiet tasks remain. The afternoon arrives like a slow exhale. The sun sits higher now, and the warmth it gives feels settled and steady, not sharp, not demanding. Shadows shorten beneath the fence rails and porch posts, gathering close to the ground as if they too are resting. You step outside and let the light fall on your face. The air smells different in the afternoon, drier, touched by warmed grass, and the faint sweetness of sap in the trees. Insects drift lazily near the garden, moving without urgency, small lives following their own quiet patterns. There is work you could do, always, but you choose the kind of work that feels gentle. You walk toward the garden first, carrying a small pail. You kneel beside the rows and loosen the soil carefully with your fingers, feeling its texture, cool beneath the surface. You pull a few weeds that have appeared since morning, their roots releasing with a soft tug. Each small plant you remove feels like clearing space for calm. You gather a few vegetables that are ready, not many, only what can be used soon. Their skin is cool and slightly damp in your hand. You place them into the pail one by one, listening to the soft sound as they settle. When you stand, you stretch lightly and look out across the field. The land lies quiet and open. In the distance, the line of trees looks darker, holding the cool shade. A breeze moves through them, and their leaves answer with a low rustle, then settle again. You carry the pail inside and rinse what you gathered in a basin. Water beads on the surface of each piece, catching the light briefly before slipping away. The simple sight of clean water and fresh food feels steady and reassuring. Afterward, you sit near the window with a small task in hand. A piece of clothing needs a stitch, a seam loosened from use. You thread a needle slowly, the thread sliding through with a gentle pull. The cloth rests on your lap, and your hands move with careful patience, in and out, the rhythm quiet enough to feel like breathing. Outside, the afternoon is calm. The road is empty for the moment. The village sounds have softened again, fading into a wide hush. A single bird calls from somewhere beyond the yard, then silence returns. When the stitch is finished, you tie the thread off and smooth the cloth with your palm. It feels good, not in a dramatic way, but in the deep comfort of a small thing made right. The day continues, slow and open, and you remain within its gentle pace, letting the afternoon carry you forward. After the mending is set aside, you sit for a little longer than necessary, allowing the quiet to settle deeper. The window frames a calm slice of the world. The yard, the fence, the pale road beyond, and the fields stretching outward as if they have no end. The light outside feels softer now, warmer around the edges, as though the afternoon is beginning to tilt toward evening. You rise and move through the room, not with purpose sharp enough to disturb the calm, but with the slow intention of keeping the home steady. A cloth is hung back on its peg. The needle is returned to its small tin. The basin is emptied outside, the water pouring onto the ground with a soft splash before it disappears into the soil. The air outside feels pleasant, warmed through, and you take a slow walk along the edge of the yard. You check the latch on the gate with a gentle touch. You glance at the wood stacked near the porch, then at the garden rows. Everything looks as it should. In the distance, a wagon passes again, far enough away that you hear it only faintly. The sound is a slow creak, a steady turning, then it fades, swallowed by the open land. The village continues its quiet motion, but the afternoon seems to hold a kind of stillness, like a long pause in the day. You return indoors and tend the hearth lightly. The fire has softened into embers, and you add one small piece of wood, careful not to build it too high. It catches slowly, flame licking the edges, then settling into a gentle glow. The room warms again, just enough. You begin to think towards supper, not because hunger presses, but because evening will come, and it feels right to be ready. You take dried beans from a crock and rinse them, letting the cool water run over them. You slice the garden vegetables slowly, the knife making a soft, steady sound against the board. A pot is set near the fire, water poured in, and the beans dropped with a quiet plunk. Soon the first faint steam rises, carrying a plain, comforting scent. You add the vegetables later, letting them soften gently, the whole meal building itself without hurry. While the pot simmers, you sit again, hands resting loosely in your lap. The light in the room dims just slightly as the sun lowers, and the shadows lengthen across the floorboards. The day feels like it is beginning to slow even further, easing you toward evening the way a calm river drifts into a wider, quieter bend. The sky outside deepens gently, shifting from gold to a muted blue-gray. The last brighter light lingers near the horizon, thin and fading, while the yard and fields begin to blur into softer shapes. Evening does not fall suddenly. It settles, like a blanket laid down with care. You step outside again, not because you need to, but because the air feels good, cool, and clean, and the quiet seems even wider now. The road lies empty, resting. The grass holds the last warmth of the day, and when you walk across it, you can feel the faint dampness returning as the temperature lowers. Crickets begin their song, not all at once, but gradually. One chirp, then another. Soon the sound becomes a steady pattern, gentle and even, filling the spaces that daylight used to occupy. It is a sound that belongs to night, calm and constant. You gather a few more pieces of wood, choosing them carefully from the stack. Their surfaces feel dry beneath your hands. You bring them inside and set them near the hearth, arranged neatly so they will be easy to reach. The simple order of it feels reassuring, like preparing the home to remain steady through the dark hours. Inside, you light a small oil lamp. The flame is soft, and it immediately changes the room. Corners grow darker. The table and walls take on a warm, amber glow. Shadows move slowly, lengthening and shifting with every small flicker of light. You sit near the hearth, letting the warmth gather at your feet. The fire has lowered again, embers glowing softly. You add a small piece of wood, just enough to brighten it, then watch as the flame catches and settles. The sound is quiet and familiar. For a long while, you do nothing at all. You simply sit and breathe, listening to the steady chorus of insects outside and the occasional soft pop of the fire. The house feels like a calm shelter, holding you gently, keeping the world slow and quiet. Thoughts come and go without weight. You do not chase them. You let them drift like smoke rising from the chimney, dissolving into the night air. The lamplight softens your surroundings, turning every surface warmer, kinder. Your body begins to feel pleasantly heavy, tired in the best way, the kind of tiredness that comes from a day lived steadily. Night is here now, calm and full, and you feel yourself easing into it, carried forward by the same quiet rhythm that guided you through morning and afternoon. The pot continues its patient simmer, barely more than a soft sound, a gentle reminder that time is moving even when nothing feels urgent. You lift the lid once, only briefly, letting a warm breath of steam rise into the room. The scent is simple and nourishing, carrying the earthiness of beans and the mild sweetness of vegetables. You stir slowly with a wooden spoon. The spoon scrapes the bottom of the pot in a quiet circle. Then you let it rest again. There is comfort in leaving things to their own steady work, trusting heat and time to do what they have always done. Outside, the light has begun to turn golden. It slips through the window in a warmer tone, touching the table and the edge of a chair. The yard beyond looks softened, as if the whole world has been lightly brushed with honey. A faint breeze returns, cooler now, stirring the leaves with a whisper. You step outside for a moment, drawn by the gentle shift of evening air. The sun is lower and shadows stretch longer across the grass. The fence rails cast thin lines of darkness. The road is quiet again. No wagons passing now, only empty space and stillness. In the distance, you see a neighbor moving slowly near their own home, carrying something light. The movement is small and calm, and it reminds you how each household follows its own quiet rhythm, separate but connected in the same slow day. A bird calls once from the trees, then falls silent. The countryside seems to be settling, preparing for night in the same unhurried way it prepared for morning. You return indoors, the warmth of the hearth greeting you again. The room feels dimmer now, and the firelight begins to matter more, shaping the shadows in gentle, slow-moving patterns. You take down a tin plate and a cup, setting them on the table with careful hands. When the meal is ready, you ladle it into a bowl. Steam curls upward, pale against the darker air. You sit and eat slowly, letting each bite warm you. The taste is plain, steady, comforting. Between bites, you pause and listen to the low crackle of the fire, the quiet presence of the house. After you finish, you clean the bowl and pot without hurry, rinsing them and setting them aside. The work is light now, and it feels like the day is folding itself neatly, one simple action at a time. Evening has arrived fully, calm and soft, and you feel yourself moving with it, letting the world grow quieter as night approaches. The lamp flame holds steady, small and patient, and the room feels wrapped in warmth. Outside, darkness settles more deeply, and the window becomes a quiet mirror, reflecting faint shapes inside rather than showing the land beyond. You rise slowly, moving through the house one last time with the gentle care that belongs to evening. The door is checked and barred, not with fear, only with habit. The latch slides into place with a soft sound, and the house feels complete again, closed in a calm way against the night air. At the basin, you wash your hands and face. The water's cool, smoothing away the last dust of the day. You rub your hands together slowly, then dry them on a clean cloth, hanging it back where it belongs. The small rituals of cleanliness feel soothing, like quiet signals to the body that rest is near. You return to the hearth and stand for a moment, looking down at the embers. They glow red and orange in the dark stone, like a slow heartbeat. You do not build the fire higher. You only arrange it gently, pushing a small piece of wood closer so it will burn slowly, keeping a mild warmth as you sleep. The lamp is turned lower. Its light becomes softer, more intimate. Shadows deepen. The edges of furniture blur, and the room becomes a quiet place of shapes and warmth. You sit again, just for a while, listening. Crickets continue their steady song outside, even and unbroken. Somewhere farther away, an owl calls once, a single note that rises and falls into silence. The sound does not startle. It feels like part of the night's own breath. Your body begins to loosen. Shoulders soften. Hands rest easily. The day's small tasks and movements settle into your muscles, leaving only a gentle tiredness behind. In 1789, nights are long and dark, and the world belongs to the sky. You can imagine the fields outside, now hidden, resting under stars. You can imagine the road empty, quiet, holding no footsteps. Soon, you rise again and move toward the bed. The quilt lies ready, thick and familiar, folded back. The room is dim, warm near the hearth, cooler near the window, and the contrast feels comforting. Rest is close now, not as an ending, but as a quiet return. You undress slowly, not rushing, letting each piece of clothing be set neatly aside. The fabric is worn soft from use, shaped by the body and by time. You place everything on a chair within reach for morning, a small act of order that makes the coming day feel gentler even before it arrives. The bed waits with its familiar weight and shape. The mattress gives slightly when you sit, filled with materials that hold warmth and settle around you. You draw the quilt back and slide beneath it, letting it fall over you in a slow, comforting layer. For a moment, you remain still, listening to the room. The lamp is nearly out now, its flame turned so low that it casts only the softest glow. The hearth offers a faint red pulse from the embers, barely enough to paint the stones with color. Moonlight begins to find its way through the window, pale and quiet, resting in a thin stripe across the floorboards. You reach and gently blow out the lamp. Darkness fills the room, but it does not feel empty. It feels full of calm. The house holds you. The quilt presses lightly over your chest and legs, steady and reassuring. Your breath deepens, slow and even. Outside, the night sounds continue. Crickets form a gentle, constant pattern. Now and then a distant rustle moves through the trees, then fades. The world feels settled, as if everything has found its place. Your eyes grow heavier. Your thoughts begin to soften, losing their edges. The details of the day drift away, not forgotten, but folded neatly like cloth and placed aside. You sink deeper into the mattress. Muscles loosen, hands relax. The night becomes a quiet current carrying you towards sleep. The night deepens around the house, settling into a quiet that feels wide and complete. Darkness presses gently against the walls, not as something heavy, but as a soft presence, like a hand resting calmly nearby. Inside, the room remains still, warmed by the last memory of the fire and the familiar weight of the quilt. Your breathing grows slower without effort. Each breath feels deeper than the last, moving easily in and out, steady and unforced. The rhythm becomes something you no longer notice, something that simply exists, like the distant sound of insects outside or the quiet strength of the walls around you. The quilt rises and falls gently with your chest. Its fabric carries the faint scent of clean cloth and smoke, a smell shaped by many nights like this one. The stitching presses lightly against your fingers, grounding you in small, tangible details, even as your thoughts begin to drift. Outside, the land rests fully now. Fields lie dark and still, their shapes softened by shadow. The road holds no movement, no sound of wheels or footsteps, only packed earth cooling under the open sky. Above it all, stars stretch across the darkness, steady and distant, unchanged by the passing of hours. Inside the house, the wood settles with a quiet sound, a gentle creak as temperatures shift. It is a familiar noise, one that belongs to safety rather than interruption. The house adjusts itself around you, holding warmth, holding silence, holding the slow passage of night. If dreams come, they arrive softly. They do not rush or demand attention. They move like faint impressions, more feeling than image, and they pass without leaving weight behind. There is no sharpness here, no urgency, only rest. Time feels different now, longer, wider. There is no sense of minutes or hours moving forward. The night stretches gently, and you float within it, supported by darkness, by quiet, by the deep calm of a world at rest. Your body sinks further into sleep. Muscles loosen completely. The mind releases its last small holds, letting go without resistance. Everything feels settled, balanced, complete. The night continues on, unbroken and patient, holding you in its steady silence as sleep deepens, smooth and untroubled. The night holds steady and sleep becomes deeper, smoother, like sinking into warm, still water that supports you without asking anything in return. Your breathing remains slow and quiet, the soft rise and fall of the quilt matching each gentle inhale and exhale as if the fabric itself has learned your rhythm. Somewhere in the dark, the last embers in the hearth have faded to nothing more than a dull memory. The stones around it remain faintly warm, not hot, only gently holding what the fire gave them earlier. The scent of smoke is still present, but softened now, mixed with the smell of wood, cloth, and the cool, clean air that slips in around the edges of the window frame. Outside, the insects continue their steady song, but it has thinned slightly, becoming less crowded, more spaced out. The chorus is not gone, only quieter, as if the night itself is settling further into its deepest hours. A cricket calls, Then there is a pause long enough to feel like a breath. Another calls. The pattern continues, calm and dependable. A faint breeze moves through the trees beyond the yard. It lifts leaves gently, then lets them fall back into stillness. The sound is soft, almost like distant cloth brushing against cloth. Then it fades again, and the countryside returns to quiet. Inside, your body rests in complete comfort. Hands loose, jaw unclenched, shoulders settled. The small tensions of the day are gone, released without thought. Sleep here is not something you chase. It is something that arrives naturally, like dusk arriving after afternoon, like morning arriving after night. If a dream passes through, it is gentle and slow, like a memory of sunlight on the floorboards, or the sound of water filling a bucket. The dream does not become a story you must follow. It drifts like mist over a field, forming and dissolving without effort. The house remains still around you. Wooden beams hold their quiet strength. Floorboards lie flat and silent. The window glass is dark now, reflecting nothing but a faint hint of starlight when the angle is right. Everything is steady, simple, and safe. Hours pass without being counted. The night remains full and patient. Your sleep stays deep, unbroken, and calm, as if the world itself has agreed to keep watch while you rest. At the deepest part of the night, the world feels almost perfectly still. The air outside cools a little more, and the land seems to settle into itself, as though every field, every tree, every fence rail has become quieter than before. Inside, the room remains calm and dark. The quilt lies heavy and reassuring over you, its weight steady across your body. Your breathing continues in that slow, even rhythm, gentle enough that it barely moves the air. The house makes a small sound now and then, a soft creak in the wood as it adjusts to the cooler temperature. It is not loud, not sudden, only a quiet reminder that the home is alive in its own simple way, holding together through the night. Outside, the chorus of crickets thins further. The calls become fewer and more spaced. Silence grows wider between them, and that silence feels peaceful, like a soft space where nothing needs to happen. Far away, an owl calls once. The sound is low and brief, floating across the darkness and fading quickly. After it disappears, the night seems even deeper, even calmer. Your sleep remains steady and undisturbed. If you turn, it is slow and natural, and the quilt settles back into place around you as if it knows exactly how to keep you comfortable. The mattress holds your weight gently, shaped by countless nights, familiar and dependable. Time passes in a quiet stream. There is no awareness of it, only the feeling of rest growing fuller, more complete. Thoughts do not form clearly now. They are only faint shadows, drifting and dissolving before they can take shape. The night continues, unhurried, holding you in its calm darkness, keeping everything quiet and smooth as sleep remains deep. Very slowly, almost without any clear signal, the night begins to loosen its hold. Darkness still fills the room, deep and complete, but the quality of it changes. It feels lighter somehow, as if the world has begun to breathe in preparation for morning. You remain asleep, untouched by the change. Your breathing stays slow and even, steady as the quiet around you. The quilt rests where it has settled, its weight familiar, comforting, unchanged. Outside, the sky begins its gradual shift. Black softens into a deep blue, so dark it is nearly invisible, but different enough to feel. Stars fade one by one, not vanishing, only withdrawing gently, making space for what comes next. The land holds its silence. Fields remain still. The road lies empty and cool beneath the open sky. Fences and trees exist now only as shapes, barely outlined against the thinning dark. A faint breeze moves through the yard, brushing the grass and lifting the leaves for just a moment before settling again. The air carries the clean scent of earth and night moisture, cool and fresh. Inside the house, the wood gives a quiet sound, a soft adjustment as temperature shifts. It is not enough to wake you. It blends easily into the night, part of the same calm rhythm. Your sleep stays deep. If dreams pass through, they are gentle impressions rather than images. A sense of warmth, a memory of light, a feeling of safety. Nothing pulls you toward waking. The night continues to soften around the edges, slowly, patiently, making room for dawn while keeping everything peaceful and still. The first true hint of morning arrives quietly, carried on sound rather than light. Somewhere beyond the house, far across the fields or near the tree line, a single bird offers a soft call. It is brief, tentative, and followed by a long pause, as if the world is listening to see whether it is time. Inside, nothing changes yet. The room remains dark and calm. You sleep on, breathing slow and deep, held gently by the quilt and the familiar shape of the bed. Your body is fully at rest, heavy in the most comfortable way, as though sleep itself has settled into every part of you. Outside, the sky lightens almost imperceptibly. The deep blue near the horizon softens, becoming slightly paler, like a thin wash of color brushed across the darkness. The stars continue to fade, retreating without hurry. A second bird answers the first, then another. Their calls are spaced far apart, leaving wide stretches of silence between them. The sound is delicate, careful, as if the morning is arriving on quiet feet, unwilling to disturb those still asleep. The air feels cool and fresh now. Dew gathers again on the grass, weighing each blade gently toward the earth. The road remains empty, smooth, and undisturbed, waiting for the first footsteps of the day. Inside the house, the scent of night lingers. Cool air, wood, faint smoke from the long-faded fire. The room feels still and safe, unchanged by the subtle shift happening outside. You turn slightly in your sleep. The quilt moves with you, then settles back into place, its weight even and reassuring. Your breathing remains calm. You do not wake. There is no need yet. The horizon continues to brighten by degrees, and the night slowly gives way, not ending, only easing back, allowing the quiet promise of a new day to form, gently in its place. Light begins to gather beyond the window in a way you can almost feel, even with your eyes closed. It is still dim, still soft, but it has direction now, as if morning has chosen a path and is following it steadily toward the house. The room remains quiet. The air is cool, and the quilt holds warmth close to your body. Your breathing is still slow, but it begins to change slightly, becoming a little lighter, a little less deep. Sleep is still strong, but wakefulness now waits somewhere nearby, patient and gentle. Outside, the birds grow a little more confident. Their calls overlap now and then, forming a calm, loose pattern. A rooster calls once in the distance, clear and measured, then falls silent again, leaving the world to its hush. The first pale stripe of dawn slips through the window and rests on the floorboards. It reveals the grain of the wood, the faint scuffs left by years of use, and the soft dust floating in the air. The light is not harsh. It is warm and careful, like a hand brushing gently across the room. You shift again beneath the quilt, turning your head slightly. The fabric whispers softly as it moves. Your hand slides across the stitching without thought, fingers brushing the familiar texture. It is grounding, even in sleep. Time continues to pass, uncounted. The light grows stronger by small steps. The darkness in the corners thins. Shapes in the room become clearer. The outline of the table, the chair, the hearthstones. Your eyes open slowly. At first, you do not move. You simply lie there, looking up into the dim ceiling and listening. The birds outside, the faint stir of life far away, the quiet presence of the house itself. You sit up gradually, letting the quilt fall to your lap. Cool air touches your face. Your mind feels calm and empty, as if the night has washed it clean. Your feet find the floor, and the boards answer with a gentle creak as you stand. You stretch slowly, unhurried, feeling your shoulders loosen and your back lengthen. The day has returned quiet and steady, and you move toward the hearth with calm familiarity, ready to wake the fire once more. You kneel at the hearth and brush aside the gray ash with slow, careful movements. The ash is fine and soft, shifting easily under your fingers. For a moment it seems there will be nothing left, only cold stone and yesterday's memory. But then you find it, a faint ember, small and stubborn, glowing softly beneath the surface like a hidden breath. You place kindling gently around it, arranging thin slivers of wood so air can move between them. Nothing is forced. Nothing is rushed. You strike a spark, then another, patient as the morning itself. The ember brightens. A tiny flame appears, wavering for a moment, then holding steady. Soon the kindling catches, and the fire begins to wake in earnest, sending warmth into the room as if it has always been there. You stand and feel the first heat reach your hands. The room, once cool and dim, starts to soften again. The light from the small flames shifts across the hearthstones, warming their rough surface, making the shadows move in slow, gentle patterns. An iron kettle waits where it always does. You lift it, fill it with water, and set it near the growing fire. It sits quietly, a solid presence, and you can almost imagine the gradual journey of warmth traveling through metal toward the water inside. As the fire steadies, you move through familiar morning motions. You fold the quilt back neatly. You straighten the bed with a few slow presses of your hands. You gather your clothes and dress in layers, each piece settling against you with a quiet familiarity. Fabric rustles softly, then stills. At the window, you pause and look out. The yard is pale and fresh, dew shining on the grass like tiny beads. The fence rails catch the early light. The road beyond is still mostly empty, but it feels awake now, ready to accept the day's slow movement. Farther out, the fields stretch in calm silence, their edges softened by the last traces of mist. A bird hops along the garden border, pecking once at the soil. Then it lifts its head still and listening before moving on. You turn back to the hearth. The kettle begins to whisper faintly, not boiling yet, only warming. You prepare a simple drink, letting the scent rise gently into the air. The smell fills the room with comfort, grounding the morning in something warm and familiar. You sit at the table with the cup in your hands, letting the warmth soak into your palms. You take slow sips, and with each one, you feel the last weight of sleep lift away, leaving only calm alertness behind. The new day in 1789 has begun, as quietly as it ended, and you meet it without hurry, letting the same gentle rhythm carry you forward once again. When the cup is empty, you rinse it with a small pour of water and set it upside down to dry. The simple sound of it touching the table is soft and final, like the closing of a calm thought. You remain seated a moment longer, watching the fire settle and listening to the morning beyond the window. Outside, the village has begun its gentle stirring. Not loudly, not all at once. A door opens somewhere down the road. A footstep passes, slow and steady. Then quiet returns, as if the world is careful to keep its voice low. You rise and step outside, letting the cool air meet you again. The sun is higher now and the dew has started to lift from the grass, leaving it brighter and lighter. The yard looks clean and calm, each fence rail and post holding its place in the morning. You walk toward the pump and draw water, the handle moving with a familiar squeak. The bucket fills with clear sound, and you pause to watch the surface ripple, then smooth into stillness. You carry it inside and set it near the hearth where it belongs. A few small tasks follow, the kind that keep life smooth without feeling heavy. You wipe the table once with a cloth. You return a lid to a crock. You straighten a chair. Each movement is quiet and complete, leaving nothing scattered, nothing unsettled. Then, you step back outside again, drawn by the open air and the feeling of calm space in the day. You walk along the fence line, not searching for problems, only noticing. The rails are warm now where sunlight touches them. The posts stand steady. The field beyond lies open, its surface uneven with growth and soil. A breeze crosses it, bending the grass in a soft wave that reaches you a moment later, cool against your face. At the corner of the fence, you stop and look back toward the house. It sits solid and modest, smoke rising faintly from the chimney. The yard is quiet. The road is quiet. Everything feels balanced, as though the day has found the pace it wants and intends to keep it. You breathe in slowly, tasting the clean morning air, and let it out just as slowly. In this calm rhythm, nothing is urgent. Nothing is forced. The day is simply lived. And as the hours stretch gently ahead, you remain within that steady quiet, carrying the soft peace of morning forward as the story continues to drift, unhurried, toward rest once more. The sunlight grows a little warmer as the morning settles into its middle hours. It does not feel like a push forward, only a slow widening, as if the day is opening its hands and letting time spill out in a generous, easy stream. You return to the porch and sit on the step again, letting your body rest without guilt. The boards beneath you are warmed by the sun. The air is calm, and when you breathe in, you taste the faint sweetness of grass and the clean smell of wood. From here, the world seems simple and complete. The yard holds its quiet order. The fence lines trace gentle boundaries. Beyond them, fields stretch outward, and the tree line stands dark and steady, leaves barely moving. A cloud passes overhead, thin and pale. Its shadow drifts across the grass, cooling the yard for a brief moment before the sunlight returns. You watch this change as if it were a slow, silent performance, something meant only to be noticed. Down the road, a wagon passes at a distance. You hear it before you see it, the soft creak of wheels on packed earth. It moves slowly, unhurried, and then it is gone, leaving the road empty again. The sound fades into stillness as if it never existed. You remain seated, hands resting loosely on your knees, posture relaxed. Thoughts come quietly and leave just as quietly. Nothing sticks. Nothing presses. The day feels like a calm surface, smooth and wide, with no sharp edges. When you stand at last, you do it slowly, as if you are careful not to disturb the peace you have been sitting within. You step into the yard and take a short walk, not to accomplish anything specific, only to move gently through the space that belongs to you. A chicken clucks softly near the fence, then returns to scratching in the dirt. A bird lands on a rail and looks around, then flutters away. The world continues its small motions, calm and unbothered. You pause again near the garden, letting your fingers brush lightly against a leaf. It is warm now, dry at the edges, still green and full. The simple touch feels grounding, like a quiet reminder that life here is built from small, steady things. The hours continue to stretch ahead, and the day feels complete in its calmness, as if it has already given you everything it needed to give. Nothing is missing. Nothing is hurried. Everything simply is. The day eases forward until the light begins to soften again. Not because anything has changed suddenly, but because the sun has slowly begun to lower its voice. The air cools by a small degree, gentle and clean, brushing your skin like a quiet reminder that evening always comes. You return inside and let the door close behind you with a familiar, steady sound. The room feels calm and warm, the kind of warmth that stays in the wood and stone long after the brightest hours have passed. The hearth is low now, not blazing, only holding a soft glow. You add a small piece of wood, just enough to wake the embers into a mild flame. It catches slowly, and the firelight begins to move again, shaping gentle shadows along the walls. The room becomes softer, quieter, as if it is preparing itself for rest. You wash your hands in cool water and dry them carefully. The cloth feels rough but clean. You set everything back in its place. These small motions feel soothing, like closing a book quietly so it doesn't make a sound. Outside, the world grows hushed. Crickets begin their steady song again, one by one, until the air is filled with their calm rhythm. The sky darkens gradually, and the first stars appear, patient and clear. You sit for a while near the hearth, letting the warmth reach your feet and hands. Your breathing slows, your shoulders loosen. The day, with its small routines and gentle work, folds itself away without leaving anything sharp behind. In 1789, night is deep and honest. The darkness outside the window is complete, and it feels natural, safe, timeless. The house holds you softly, a quiet shelter against the wide sky. When you finally rise and move toward bed, everything feels settled. The quilt waits, heavy and familiar. You lie down and let it cover you, its weight steady as a calm hand. The fire sinks back into embers. The crickets continue. Your thoughts grow slow, then quieter still, until they become nothing more than soft, drifting shadows. And as sleep gathers around you, you feel the peaceful certainty of a day lived gently, and the even more peaceful certainty of rest returning, steady and complete.